Good evening, I'm Shawn Yao.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
I'm Ed Lingao, sitting in for Ces Oreña-Drilon. The big stories tonight. A former ally has accused the Duterte siblings, their supporters, and retired generals of plotting to disrupt the government. The list of alleged coup plotters is now with the military's intelligence team for validation.
And Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Juan Ponce Enrile is now in the hospital battling pneumonia, as confirmed by his daughter to One News. And one senator claims to have information that the 101-year-old has slim chances of survival.
And the death toll from the onslaught of Super Typhoon Juan is still rising, with at least 2.7 million people affected across several regions in the country.
Totoo na dun sa pag-organize ng rally, kasama ako dyan. Pero yung sasabing disturb, hindi ako kasama dyan. In fact,
yung mga ganyan, kapag meron kang aligasyon, wala kang ebidensya, ang tawag dyan ay chismis.
Hindi naman po ibig sabihin na nasabi sa social media ito ay agad na dapat paniwalaan. So kailangan po nilang i-validate. Ito naman po ay hindi tutulugan ng ating Pangulo.
Former broadcaster and former Duterte Special Envoy to China, Mon Tulfo, has named several prominent political figures supposedly behind efforts to destabilize the Marcos administration. Among those Tulfo named in his Facebook post last November 10 were some retired military generals, Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong, lawyers Ferdinand Topacio and Vic Rodriguez, former Congressman Mike Defensor, former Ilocos Sur Governor Chavit Singson, and Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Tulfo also claimed that VP Sa Duterte, her brother Davao City Congressman Pulong Duterte, and Singson are among the financiers of the alleged coup campaign. Tulfo, however, did not provide any evidence to support his allegations. He also refused to disclose his sources, only saying that he received the information from a reliable informant. In a statement, Magalong has denied the attempt to implicate him in the alleged plot against the administration. Magalong dismissed it as a mere rumor that he says is harmful to the unity the nation needs now. Magalong adds that a former police officer and now public servant, his loyalty is to the republic and to the people and not to any political faction or personality. The palace confirms receiving information on the alleged plot. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the intelligence community of the armed forces is already verifying the information. She also cautions against information being spread on social media.
Ito po ay napansin na po ng AFP at nabanggit nga rin po ang mga pangalang katulad ni General Pokis, General Orlando De Leon at saka si Mayor Benji Magalong. Although for confirmation. Ang po ibig sabihin na nasabi sa social media ito ay agad na dapat paniwalaan. So kailangan po nilang i-validate at sa ngayon po ayon sa AFP, nasa intelligence community na po yan. Kung meron sila makikitang dapat na talagang pagtuunan ng pansin, ito naman po ay hindi tutulugan ng ating Pangulo.
And now, one of the figures named in the allegations has spoken out. Former Quezon City Congressman Mike Defensor denied any involvement in efforts to destabilize the Marcos administration. He said that while he will participate in the upcoming rallies before November 30, he is not involved in any political withdrawal of support or other destabilization plans. Instead, Defensor called on focusing on the country's corruption problems.
totoo na dun sa pag-organize ng rally, kasama ako dyan. Pero yung sasabing disturb, hindi ako kasama dyan. Kinonvene namin yung People's Coalition, andun yung UPI, si General Pokis nandun, si Greco Belica naman from the People's Council. So, tulong-tulong lang ma'am kung ano yung mga kailangan. Yung iba sa program, yung iba sa logistics, yung iba sa sound and stage. Ambag-ambag lang.
Kong, can you say it with a straight face na walang destabilization dyan sa mga rally na parating ng Lunes hanggang Miyerkules? Dahil nga yung in-interview nung isang araw, si ex-General Pokis, inaamin naman niya na merong mga plano na withdrawal of support. Diba? At mukhang kasama naman siya dyan sa rally. So, paano matidistinguish? Sino ba ang for destabilization? Sino ba ang para sa kapayapaan, mga dasal para sa kapayapaan? Sinong anti-corruption? O halo-halo na yan?
Ano to, Sek Ronald, nung kinausap nga natin si General Pokis, ang sinabi niya, they met with General Bronner. Wala daw silang sinabi na withdrawal of support. Ang sabi niya, magsalita naman kayo on the problem of corruption.
Defensor also commented on Orly Guteza, the surprise witness from the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing. Defensor clarified he does not know Guteza's exact location and that communication is handled through intermediaries. This comes after he stated that Guteza is under the protection of the Philippine Marines and is ready to appear if summoned by the Senate, the DOJ, and the NBI.
Sinabi sa akin na kasama niya yung mga kasama niya sa Marines, no? As to the actual location, as I've said, hindi ko talaga alam, no? Hindi ko siya nakakausap. May binibigyan lang siya ng message and yung message na yun dumadaan pa sa isang tao para makarating sa amin.
Now, meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte dismisses talks of their family's involvement in the rumored destabilization plot against the Marcos administration as just that, a rumor. The Vice President said this during her visit to residents affected by Typhoons Tino and Uwan in Negros Occidental. And here's how Duterte addressed accusations that she's funding efforts to overthrow the current government.
Kung napapansin nyo, ako ay hindi talaga ako nagbibigay ng mga aligasyon kung wala akong ebidensya, no? So, yung mga ganyan, kapag meron kang aligasyon, wala kang ebidensya, ang tawag dyan ay chismis o ang tawag sa iyo ay chismosa.
Now, the Vice President's brother, Davao Congressman Pulong Duterte, had earlier blasted columnist Mon Tulfo's expose as a product of imagination. And to quote him, he said this guy has made a career out of gossip packaged as courage. But this time, he has gone full fantasy, name-dropping people, inventing plots, and pretending he's part of some spy thriller. Pulong went on to accuse Tulfo of, quote, sumisip-sip sa administrasyon dahil gustong ma-appoint na special envoy to China.
And let's talk more about this alleged destabilization plot with one of those implicated by Mon Tulfo. And joining us in the studio is former Ilocos Sur Governor Luis Chavit Singson. Gob, magandang gabi and thank you for joining the Big Story. Gob, teka, ano ba? Kayo ba yung nag-uusap ni Mon Tulfo? Bakit kayo nasama doon?
Hindi, matagal ko lang din nakita, matagal ko lang din nakausap si Mon Tulfo. Pero kilala ko.
Oh, totoo ba to? Nasa listahan kayo. Financial daw kayo.
Dala ko nga eh. Yung lilista niya.
May listahan kayo.
Ito, dala ko lahat. Well, ang masasabi ko rito, hindi po totoo ito. At yung listahan niya, marami dito. At meron din dito ang mga nabayaran na.
Anong sabihin?
Ibig sabihin, like, mga iba nandito, like Romeo Pokis, Orly de Leon, Benjamin Magalong, Johnny Macanas, Gerald Bantag, Colonel La Chica, Colonel Leonardo, Matran, Capdado Enriquez, Ferdinand Topacio, Vic Rodriguez, Mike Defensor, Chavit Singson, Rodante Marcaleta, Rolando Olamit, alias Mong, Possible Financier, Sara Duterte, Pulong Duterte, Chavit Singson.
Teka, ba't yung sabing nabayaran? Anong sabihin nabayaran na?
Sila nabayaran. May naglabas na ito, yun ang bayaran na. Ewan ko bakit inulit ni Ramon Tulfo ito. Hindi ko sinasabi si Ramon Tulfo na bayaran na. Yung una na nagpapalas ito.
Anong sabihin nasa listahan na bayaran na? What exactly do you
No.
mean by that?
Isa rito o dalawa, kunyari lang kasama. Pero bayad na siya.
Ibig sabihin na bumaliktad na?
Oo, nabayaran na. Lumalabas na, sumusuporta pero parang insider. Kaya yung mga iba naman, hinihangan ako ng perang pilit, ayaw ko. Parang inulit para siguro, pag nagbigay ako, binayaran kami ni Chavit. So marami rin ganun.
Willing po kayo sabihin kung sino po yung humingi sa inyo ng pera pang finance nito, Gov?
Oo, may humingi.
Andiyan po ba sa listahan?
Wala.
Wala dyan?
Hindi ko alam.
Siguro naman, may listahan ko, hindi nyo alam kung ano yung listahan.
Si Ramon naglalabas nito eh.
Oo.
So, nakita ko rito, isa rito, dalawa na bayaran. May plano.
Go, when you say nabayaran,
Kunyari,
tumanggap po sila?
Kunyari na posisyon para the last hour, babaliktad siya. Suporta kay BBM.
Parang DPA, parang penetration agent, parang gano'n.
Yes.
Nabayaran ng admin, ibig sabihin.
Yes.
So in other words, meron diyang bumaliktad.
Meron. Pero hindi ko masabi.
Kung sinabi yung may bumaliktad, ibig sabihin po nun, tuloy yung iba, pero yung dalawa bumaliktad.
Saka wala naman kami, hindi ko kilala yung mga iba eh.
Ilan po kilala
Hindi ko
niyo
kilala yan. Si Romy Pokis, kilala ko. Orly De Leon, hindi ko kilala. Benjamin Magalong, matagal, years na kami hindi nakita. Nagkita lang kami, palagay ko, nagkita lang kami sa isang okasyon na wedding. Johnny Macanas, hindi ko kilala. Gerald Bantag, hindi ko kilala. Colonel Lachica, hindi ko kilala. Colonel Leonardo, hindi ko kilala. Colonel Mertran, Captain Dado Enriquez. Martina Topacio, minsan ko lang na-meet. Big Rudy, hindi pa kami nakita mula nung tinanggal nung before election. Nung tinanggal right after election, hindi kami nakita. Mike Defensor, years hindi na kami nakita. Rodante Marcoleta, after election, hindi ko na nakita. Marcoleta.
Gob, sorry.
Alias Mong.
Ang ibig niyo sabihin po, may dalawa diyang trumaydor sa grupo ninyo. Pero ang tanong, I suppose, yung tanong na marami is, ano ba yung grupo po ninyo? Is your group pushing for an overthrow? Is it pushing for withdrawal support?
Paano kami mag-meeting ng gano'n? Hindi ko kilala itong mga ito. Ang kilala ko lang dito, nababilang lang, Romy Pokis or Benji Magalong.
Ayun, nabanggit niyo si
Defensor lang.
Defensor
Pero,
Tomasio.
Well, actually, Gov,
No,
it's
depends.
a very
si
long list and
Mike.
there are a lot of names. Pero taking a look at it face value, ano po ba yung nakikita niyong connection niyo sa isa't isa or
Well,
common
ang
denominator?
nilabas nito, parang tinatakot ng mga tao na alam namin ang ginagawa nyo. Kaya parang maging totoo, parang linagyan pa si Mayor Benji Magalong na to be confirmed. Sabihin nila na kinukonfirm lahat, na nag-confirm na sila lahat. Panakot nila ito sa mga tao. Walang katotohanan. Hindi ko namin miss yung mga tao eh.
Nagsalita na po kayo dati, Gov, no? About ghost projects in Ilocos. Naglabas na kayo ng...
Ilocos Sur.
Ilocos Sur.
Norte.
Ilocos Norte. And at around that time, yun nga, tinatanong kayo ng media kung ano po daw gusto nyong gawin at masama daw yung loob nyo kay BBM. So where do you stand right now? Are you over that ill feeling towards BBM?
Ang hiningi ko lang para magkaroon ng kredibilidad si Presidente, unahin niya yung Ilocos Norte na probinsya niya bago magbintang sa iba. So that magkaroon siya ng credible siya magsalita. To blame others. Unahin niya yung probinsya niya. Yun lang hiningi ko. Up to now, hindi inimbestigahan. Sabi ko sa ICI, imbestigahan nyo, mapunta na kayo sa Ilocos Norte. Yun lang hiningi ko. Dahil napalit na pensing ko sa Senate, linampasan yung Ilocos Norte. Tapos may may sinadya ka lang, nalampasan mo. Wala. Ilocos Norte pala yun, number 30. So, nagsara na.
Is that why you're joining the rally?
Yes.
Gov, itong request
Dahil
niyo.
sobra na kasi. At kung meron man lahat ng administrasyon, may problemang ganito. But this is the biggest. Isang lang ito, isang department lang. Isang issue lang. Pero almost all department.
Actually, Gov, this call of yours to investigate Ilocos Norte, or to start with Ilocos Norte, weeks ago pa po yun. Since then, what have you found? May proof na po ba ng mga ghost projects? And did you communicate this po to the ICI? Ano pong naging response nila?
It was created by the President himself. Pinipigilan nila yung mga napagsalita doon eh. Pinipigilan nila pag may nasabi na nabanggit na, oy, wag niyo ilagay yan. That I'm sure.
Sino pong pumipigil, Go?
Chairman Chairman Reyes.
And have you tried to reach out para po magsumbong
No,
sa kanila
hindi
or
ko
wala
kilala
nang
eh.
point?
Hindi ko kilala eh. Siya sabi ko uli ngayon, imbestigahan niyo Ilocos Norte at isama niyo mga media para walang takipan. Ayaw galawin up to now. So ngayon sasabihin ko ulit, wag na kayong lumayo, pupunta sila sa Davao eh. Ilocos Norte muna para tulungan natin ang Presidente para sabihin natin na credible lahat ng sinasabi ng Presidente. Malinis sila doon. Walang pupunta. Proven na sa Senate na nilampasan na ng Ilocos Norte.
Sorry, Go, balikan ko lang po yung sinabi niyo earlier. ICI head si Justice Andy Reyes po ang pumipigil sa mga, sino po, sa mga witnesses? Na
meron nagsabi sa akin na pinipigilan sila doon. Wag mo lagay yan.
What do you mean, sir, na huwag mo ilagay yan? Huwag mong pag-usapan
isama.
yan?
Hindi,
Huwag mong banggitin
yung
yan?
pangalan na yan, wag mong banggitin.
Ganun kadiretsahan? Ganun kadiretsahan na don't
Yes.
mention that name?
Yes, don't put that, don't mention that.
And sino po yung kumukumpas? I understand, hindi nyo masasabi, pero baka
Sige,
pwede yung
magsabi,
bigyan ng clue.
Pag mag-imbestigahan, mapipilitan ako. Di, wala pa naman. Ano, eh.
But now they're saying that the ICI will make public the hearings.
I hope. Matagal na sarado eh. Dapat, bakit yun sinara? Bakit ayaw pakita?
Yes, sir.
Dahil ako, I'm sure, dead sure, na pinipigilan yung mga gusto magsalita na iniimbestiga nila.
I get to go, pero my question is, kung ngayon ibubukas sila yung hearings to transparency at public hearings, edi kung ano yung hindi, kung ano yung ayaw ipabanggit noon, maaaring lumabas ngayon.
Yes, siguro. I doubt kung bubuksan pa yan.
And yung Senate, sabi nyo, ang feeling nyo rin is nilalaktawan nila yung probinsya ng Ilocos
Ang
Norte.
liwanag, nung may-mention lahat ng probinsya, 29, 31, 32, 33. Di mo na, may nalampasan yata, number 30. Ilocos Norte yun. Ilocos Norte. Nagsara na. Wala na. Sarado na up to now.
Kami ako ng konti. I get what you mean po. Sabi nga ninyo, hindi nyo kilala lahat ito, so it cannot be a plot involving them, di ba? I get that. Number
Pero
two,
bang plot na hindi ko kilala yung mga tao?
okay.
Ako hindi ako marunong magsinungaling. At uulitin ko, isa lang salita ko.
Number two, gusto na mas komprehensibong investigasyon involving lahat na
Yes.
maaaring ano. Okay. We get
Unahin
that.
natin ang
Okay.
presidente para mag-credible siya na magbintang.
Okay, that's clear naman. Those 2 points are clear. My question po to you is this ano yung inyong gustong mangyari sa November 16 at 17 sa Salagay Rally?
Hindi yung gusto ko ano doon.
No,
Magsasabi lang ako na totoo about grabe corruption.
No, but my question to you po is, what is your preference, kumbaga? I mean, kahit kayo maghasalta kayo, pero in the end, syempre, there's something that you want to bring out
Grabe corruption.
Opo. But, for example, diretso ko kayo, gusto ba ninyong mag-withdraw support? I'm not talking about these people, but kayo po. Far as your preference are
Dahil
concerned.
sasabihin ko lang totoo, pero hindi ako magwawala na.
Kasi po, I asked that, kasi si September 22, si Yusek Claire Castro, binigit po yung pangalan niyo. Sabi ni Claire Castro na dapat imbestigahan kayo ng DOJ dahil daw may mga binitawan kayong salta na bordering on sedition.
Okay. Imbestigahan daw. Kulong nila kung gusto nila. Patayin nila kung gusto nila. Pero imbestigahan Ilocos Norte para tulungan natin ang presidente magkaroon ng kredibilidad, paniwalaan yung mga binibintang niya. Isa lang ito, maliwanag. Sa dami na nakakapag-usapan, bakit ayaw niya imbestigahan ng kanyang pinsan?
Si Martin Romualdez.
Martin Romualdez. Yan lang, simple. Bakit ayaw imbestigahan ng Ilocos Norte?
So,
Yun
pagdating
lang,
sa...
dalawang yun. Hindi na masagot.
So, on the rally, pupunta kayo, dadala kayo. I expect, papaakitin po kayo sa entablado at bibigyan po kayo ng mikropono.
Well, I hope.
Hindi ba sigurado?
Hindi pa siguro. Pero let's say, umabot kayo dun sa entablado, Govno. Anong isisiwalatin nyo? Kumbaga, ililista nyo ba ang mga nalalaman ninyong, for example, substandard or ghost project sa probinsya ng Ilocos Norte?
Kung itatanong, siguro. Pero I'll try to avoid dahil nasabi ko na rito. Pero paulit-ulit, yun lang challenge ko. Bakit? Bakit hindi imbestigahan up to now si Speaker
Martin Romualdez.
Siya lang binibintangan ng mastermind lahat. Nilaglag na si Saldico. Nung sinasabi si Speaker, bakit ayaw? Bakit piniprotektahan? Bakit hindi lumalabas?
Ang sabi nila, Gov, wala naman daw. Sa
Kung
small
wala, lumabas
committee
siya.
si Martin Romualdez.
Wala.
Hindi po kayo naniniwala na wala siya doon? Or
Hindi man na...
or besides the point yun? Para
Hindi
sa
naman ako pinanganak kahapon. Matagal na akong pinanganak. Hindi ako naniniwala doon.
Gob, ito po, I understand, Martin Romualdez gusto yung ba-imbestigahan. Pero hanggang saan sa tingin ninyo, inyong pananaw, hanggang saan naabot dapat ang investigasyon na ito? Aabot ba ito sa Pangulo?
Oo. Kung totoong investigasyon. Bakit niya pinoprotektahan ng Ilocos Norte? Bakit pinoprotektahan niya ang pinsan niya? Sinasabi na lahat ng tao na yun ang mastermind. Kung yun ang mastermind, bakit hindi imbestigahan? Bakit niya siya lumabas? May balita nga na siyang star witness. Wow. sige nga, gawin nyo yan ako.
You're talking about Martin Romualdez?
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm
Star
asking,
witness daw.
but I'm asking po about whether tingin nyo ay aabot ito doon kay Pangulong Marcos. Ito ba'y dawit ba sa tingin nyo?
Ako sinabi ko na yan noon. Dahil ang liwanag eh. It is his command responsibility. Being the commander-in-chief, command responsibility niya lahat to. Ang nangyayari ngayon.
Well, that much is clear.
Yung mga ibang nasyon, nahiya agad, nire-resign.
But is there any particular project where he is directly involved from what you see?
Alam niya lahat yan, pero kung wala siyang alam, bakit tuloy-tuloy ang pag-upo nila, tuloy-tuloy yan? Like for example, ni Diskaya. First year na pag-upo, nandun na sila. 3 years lang na pag-upo ni Presidente Bongbong, 31 billion ang nakuha nila. Makakakuha ka ba yan kung wala kang kapit sa taas? Ako, contractor, ang tatay ko, contractor ako. Never ako nakatikim na mga ganun.
Pero Gov, tingin niyo po ba makakahanap po talaga ng ties, linking itong anomalous flood control projects to the big fish? Kasi nga, right now, it's all speculation, allegations, and aminado po ang ICI, kahit si Ombudsman Remulla, DOJ, na it's gonna be a challenge to gather concrete evidence that will lead to certainty of conviction right now.
Well, alam mo, kung legal ang pag-uusapan, wala mangyayari sa buong bansa. So, the same. Tatakbo lang yan mga yan, napagsamantalan ng Pilipinas.
I guess this is why you're so game, Gov, no, na pumunta dito sa mga rally. Para, and then, of course, you're no stranger.
Sa taong bayan, yung sinasabi ko ngayon, baka hindi nila napanood dito, baka hindi nakapanood. Pero I'm sure marami naman nakakapanood.
So, balikan natin yung rally, Gov. Sasali po kayo, and you said, itong listahan ni Montulfo, hindi mo naman kilala lahat ng mga tao. And as we already know, in reports, lumabas na rin sa media, na iba-ibang grupo ito actually. So, ikaw, sino po yung kasama ninyo doon sa rally? We're not talking about this list anymore.
Ako lang.
Nobody, you're not, kumbaga, coordinating with either religious group or civil society organization?
No, nagsabi lang ako na gusto kong pumunta ron sa INC.
Sa INC?
Sa INC, sa Luneta, sa Quirino.
Pero okay naman, sabi nila, basta yung graft and corruption ng pag-uusapan.
Hindi po kayo mag-People Power Monument kung saan daw mag-iipon-ipon yung mga Duterte
No.
groups?
Okay.
Hindi pa ako decided kung pupunta ako ron.
Okay, so linawin ulit natin. Sure ka pumunta sa INC sa Luneta,
Sure.
pero not sa EDSA People Power Monument?
Hindi ako sure doon.
Hindi ka pa sure?
Dahil marami yan yatang... Well, sabi nila mapupuno rin daw. Pero tingnan ko dahil maraming pera ang kalaban eh. May flood control sila eh. Ako wala eh. So wala akong pambayad sa...
Pero sabi sa ni Montulfo, may pinapondon daw ng grupo.
Financier daw po kayo.
Nagtaka nga ako kay Ramon Tulfo kung bakit nakialam dito.
What's your best guess kung bakit niya nilabas itong ganitong listahan, ganitong Facebook post?
Yun nga eh. Nag-warning pa rito na hindi ko... Don't ask me where I got info. I won't tell Hayat na pitpitin ang ano niya.
Correct.
Pero parang may laman to eh.
Parang meron kayong gustong pitpitin to. So wala kayong pinapondohan?
Wala.
Especially not for November 16 to 18?
Wala. Hindi ako sinungaling.
And para
Hindi
lang
ako
po patay
nagsisinungaling.
mali siya, Gov.
Ha?
Nakakausap niyo po ba yung mga Duterte? Like Sara Duterte, ito yung mga nasa listahan.
Matagal na. Si Sara, matagal na. Si Baste, hindi ko pa na-meet. Nung bagong labas lang sila, pinakilala pero daming tao, hindi ako napansin. Yan lang, wala na. Hindi ko maski si Pulong, hindi ko nakakausap.
Miski si VP po.
Si BP, hindi ko na nakikita mula noong ano.
Pero
Hindi na kami
Gov,
nagkita.
comparing your relationship to the Dutertes versus the Marcoses, How would you assess it? Yung relationship niyo po sa mga Duterte versus sa mga Marcos. Kasi nabanggit niyo na nga po dati, medyo tainted na yung relasyon niyo kay BBM. Si VP Sara, sabi niyo po, hindi niyo po nakakausap lately. Pero may,
Wala.
may ano po ba? Tension? O hindi naman? Dahil hindi lang po kayo nakakapag-usap.
No, not that. But I want to be clear. Wala akong pinapanigan.
Okay.
I'm not definitely for Marcos or Sara. Ang focus ko lang sa graft regulation na nangyayari sa ating bansa dahil nakakaya na tayo sa ibang bansa. Dito, pakapalan ng mukha eh. So, sa ibang bansa, nahiya sila, tago na, alas na. Dito, parang tatapang ng...
Ibang-iba go,
Ibang-iba.
no? From
Only in the
years
Philippines.
back. Yes.
Only in the Philippines.
I don't want to dichotomize, pero sabi nga ninyo, definitely hindi kayo pro BBM.
No, now, hindi na. Noon.
No. Pero at the same time, you're also saying you're not pro Sara Duterte either?
No, hindi ako pinapayagan. Wala akong pinapanigan. Hindi ko pumapanig kay Sara, kay Marcos. Basta, ang ano ko lang, itong nangyayari sa ating bansa.
Okay. So alam naman
Graft
natin...
and corruption. Hindi ako nakikipag-usap kay Sara na yung siya sabi nila na nag-uusap kami, galit ako dahil Sara ako. Hindi. Kaya ang suggestion ko kung magre-resign si BBM na mas maganda, para hindi na siya palisin ng tao kagaya nangyari sa mga parents niya, mas maganda, mas honorable kung mag-resign. Huwag nang antayin magalit. Galit ng tao eh. Pag sumumara galit niyan, hindi natin alam mangyayari. So,
pero yun nga yung magyayari, Gov, di ba? Kung ang call natin is BBM resign, ang sasabihin ng kabilang panig, ay gusto mo kay Sara Duterte kasi siya lang yung makakapag-benefit dito.
No.
Ano po yung tugon ninyo sa mga ganun?
Kung alis si BBM, sa Supreme Court magagaling, ang sino sa kanila doon lang ang pag-asa natin. Kung sino sa kanila doon, ang acting president, at mag-uusap na ang military, mga justices, other groups, religious organizations, mag-uusap kung anong gobyerno ang susundan natin. Then, snap election.
Gob, so you're looking at extra constitutional solutions. Kumbaga, wala yun sa succession ng
Wala
constitution.
mangyayari dito sa ating bansa eh. Pakapala ng mukha eh.
I get you, sir. Pero isipin, as far as you're concerned, labas na tayo dapat sa usapin ng konstitusyon, ng kung ano legal. Bubukod na tayo doon at make the rules as we go along. But who would you trust to enforce or to make the rules and enforce the rules?
Only the Supreme Court.
So you still have
Kung
faith?
aasa tayo sa Supreme Court, paano nila masosolve yan? Silang gumawa. You tell me. Silang gumawa eh. Paano masosolve? Paano nila masosolve? Kung sila lang.
Pero you, as Shawn mentioned, you have faith in the Supreme Court to settle this
I have trust in the Supreme Court. That's the last.
as the last arbiter.
Pag wala pa rin mangyari sa Supreme Court, talagang
Pero, Gob,
doon siguro gusto ko lang umalis pero hindi ako alis dito.
pero Gob, hindi ba ironic na aasahan mo yung Supreme Court to decide outside of the Constitution? Kasi the Supreme Court supposed to rule on
pag wala na si
constitutionalities.
BBM, ayaw ko sino man ang pumalis sa kanya. Gusto ko mag-acting muna parang caretaker ang Supreme Court. Then they decide kung snap election. Whatever they decide, basta magbabago ang ating gobyerno. Dahil nakakaya na tayo sa buong mundo. Tingnan niyo, pumunta siya sa ibang bansa, binigyan lahat ni Trump, tayo zero. Pumunta siya sa US kay Trump, 1% lang binigay. Nabentahan pa yata tayo ng aeroplano yung jet.
Hindi pa naman tapos yun. Pinag-uusapan pa naman yung I know what you mean, yung F-16. Yung F-16. Pero po, so, aren't you opening yourself up to charge of sedition?
Wala naman akong ginagawang sedition eh. They can charge me if they want to. Ikulong nila ako, patayin nila ako kung gusto nila. Wala akong magawa ko yun ang destiny ko because I believe in destiny. Yung ano ko sa inyo, paano masosolve ang gobyerno kung silang gumawa? How? You tell me.
Yun lang. Pero I go back to that.
Sige,
In the end kasi, wouldn't that be seditious to call for basically revolutionary government?
Suggestion ko lang ako eh. Kung mawawala si BBM, that's only my suggestion.
At mukhang malabo siya mag-step down.
Hindi ko sinabing, wala akong minensyon ng revolutionary government.
Hindi ko sinabi yun. Hindi ko sinabi yun.
Hindi, mag-uusap ang military and the Supreme Court. Yun ang sinasabi ko.
But if he doesn't step down,
If he
if he doesn't step down, which he is not likely to do, ano po yung, what do you see
Well,
happening?
nobody could tell the future. Baka mas masama abutin niya kaysa mga parents niya. Nakakaya na nga eh. Napatalsik ang tatay nila. Tapos, nasa book of genius record. Nakakaya. Hindi ko nabanggitin para ayun rin siguro sabihin ko rito.
Okay.
Agree?
Very interesting conversation with the former Governor
Always.
Chavit Singson. Sir, I'm afraid we're out of time, pero maraming salamat po for joining us this afternoon. I'm sorry, for joining us tonight. And baka we can have you back mas mahabang diskusyon sa kwentuhan. Maraming salamat po, Governor Chavit Singson. Thank you po.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, we're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, Senator Jinggoy Estrada cites what he calls a very reliable source, putting former Senator Juan Ponce Enrile's condition now as critical. We have details of that when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile is in the intensive care unit or the ICU of an undisclosed hospital for pneumonia. Senator Jinggoy Estrada shared this news during the Senate session this afternoon. Estrada discloses that the 101-year-old Enrile has slim chances of surviving, prompting immediate concern. Estrada then asked the whole assembly to say a prayer for Enrile, led by Senator Joel Villanueva.
I have just received a very, very sad information that our former colleague, former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile, is currently in the intensive care unit of an undisclosed hospital suffering from pneumonia. And I heard from a reliable source, a very, very reliable source, that he has slim chances of surviving. And I hope all of us here present can have a short prayer to be led by Senator Joel Villanueva.
Dakilang Diyos, amin pong idinadalangin at idinudulog sa iyo ang buhay ng isang aming colleague, mentor, Senate President, Senator Juan Ponce Enrile.
Last October 25, Enrile, the Chief Presidential Legal Counsel, was acquitted of graft charges in connection with the alleged misuse of his pork barrel funds. A frail-looking Enrile attended the promulgation virtually or online as he was seen in an undisclosed hospital room. Enrile's daughter Katrina confirms this afternoon to our sister program Storycon that her father is indeed in the ICU and that his entire family is now with him.
And indeed, Juan Ponce Enrile is a colorful and powerful character in Philippine politics. Here's a clip from the One News files way back from 2019 on our flagship political talk show, The Chiefs, where he finally acknowledged human rights violations during 70s martial law. Let's take a listen.
Wait a minute. We never arrested people. I never said that. I never said that. What I said was, we never killed people needlessly or without any reason, with impunity. I never said that we did not arrest. I never said that there were no human rights violation.
But sir,
where do you, I mean, just to be clear, categorically, where do you stand now? Were there human rights violations during martial law?
There were. You cannot control everybody in the military. Even now, you cannot control them.
But how do you square that with what you just said? That nobody was, you said nobody was...
We did not kill people with impunity, meaning killing them at random or just because we like to kill them. there were people arrested because they were attempting to kill Marcos. 3 times. There were, the most current in those days was the Light a Fire movement.
Light a Fire, yeah.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But there are also people who were jailed who do not seem to be involved in any plot.
Who are they?
For example, Amando Doronila. Amando Doronila, the journalist, also Teodoro Locsin Sr. and
publisher, Max Sullivan.
Max Sullivan.
Many journalists.
I must tell you,
many people
in the initial stages, we have to emasculate all the leaders in order to control the situation. I must admit that. And then afterwards, when we have quieted the society, we started releasing them. How long did they stay? Did Doronila stay?
Yes, but when you say that of course we had to emasculate the leaders, isn't that in a way just another way of saying we had to silence the opposition, or we had to silence the?
When you deal with a problem of society, as the magnitude of which was as big and as delicate with what we encountered at the onset of martial law, you have to, you do not take any breaks. You have to stop the movement altogether.
Yes, sir. But you're identifying
But
journalists as
we never
leaders of the opposition.
as far as I'm concerned, and I had no intention of jailing people who were my friends. But by necessity, in order to quiet the society and prevent bloodshed, that was our assumption. You have to stop it.
Yeah, but going by Ed's point, you started off by saying that clearly there were people who were out to, for example, assassinate the president. Clearly there were people out to foment rebellion and so on. Now we're here, further down the slope, talking about, wait, we need to emasculate the leaders. Wait, we need to quiet. And to Ed's point, that leads to jailing not just politicians, not just communists, as you say, but it includes media, it includes journalists, it includes editors.
Well, I'm sorry for that. No, if I have to apologize, but that was our perception. It was not an intention to harm anybody, but to protect society, because we did not want anything. We are unleashing a system of government control over the society that needs to be firmly established so that you avoid violence.
In the first interview released by the Bongbong Marcos camp, you said specifically, name me one person who was jailed for his political or religious beliefs, or name me one person who was jailed for... Yes, sir, political or religious beliefs, and name me one person who was jailed for criticizing martial law. Those three
Well, if I said that, I must have been in my unlucid
moment.
That interview was done in 2019. He was running in the 2019 elections for the Senate, which he lost. But it was interesting talking to him then, kasi, how old was he then, Bali?
He was probably 95, if he's 101 now, and that was 6 years ago, right? 95 years old, but still so sharp in that interview.
Actually, we were talking to him before the interview, and he was saying that while in jail, he memorized several quatrains of I forget if it's an Afghan or a Persian poet. Yeah, he memorized it in the original language.
Do you remember?
Just for kicks.
Kasi bored siya siguro, wala siya magawa.
So kind of stumped us when he said this must have been one of my unlucid moments.
Yeah. Like, it's very hard to sell that Juan Ponce Enrile had an unlucid moment. But do you remember his book launch? He had a book, like a memoir.
Memoir.
So that interview was after the book launch, right?
I think so, yeah. That was.
And that was largely seen as, him narrating his life and whitewashing, sort of, like the atrocities during the martial law.
There was a lot of things. There were a lot of things not mentioned in the book, especially the martial law years. What was more elucidating in the book, I think, was his years before martial law, and after, like his childhood years. You know that those are the interesting parts as well.
Right. But actually, we just heard his name in the headlines again. his promulgation just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where we see those videos of him in the hospital, just to make it clear that it's not a current video.
That is not today's video. In fact, it said there October 22 or 25. May petsa po dun sa video. So just to be clear that we're not misrepresenting the video.
So less than a month ago, but we could already see that JPE was very frail in that promulgation, right? He looked quite thin already. He was in the hospital with his lawyer. And less than a month later, we now know that he is critical in the hospital battling pneumonia.
You know, I remember that he did an interview with an Inquirer reporter. It seemed to be like that the reporter went to his house. And he, of course, if you compare it to this video, and they're like a few months apart, ang laki nung binagsak ng mukha niya, ni JPE in the hospital video, which was from October or last month.
Because at that age, you know, even the smallest, slightest bug is dangerous already. So,
and we did have a bad viral bug going around. So,
but several other incredibly interesting things that have been unresolved, including yung pork barrel scandal. Of course, his chief of staff, Gigi Reyes, was sent to jail for that. In a lot of ways, it was like Richard Cambe of Bong Revilla, where the buck stops with the chief of staff. And they're the ones who go to jail. Also, of course, Juan Ponce Enrile was given an exceptional exemption by the Supreme Court, a plunder case where he was given bail for humanitarian reasons. Yeah, that kind of shocked a lot of people because it's not typically given for humanitarian reasons.
Yeah, I think what would shock more people is if they didn't allow him bail. Because it's Juan Ponce Enrile that we're talking about.
That's another way of looking at it, okay.
All right, but this time in other news, a lawyer has formally lodged criminal and administrative complaints at the Office of the Ombudsman in Visayas against government officials who went abroad while Typhoon Tino lashed Cebu province. The raps were slapped against Cebu Congressman Duc Frasco and 7 mayors, Alju Fernando Frasco of Liloan, Arvis Monleon of Catmon, Alfredo Arquiliano Jr. of San Francisco, Greman Solante of Tudela, Edgar Rama of Poro, and Manuel Santiago of Pilar, and Felijur Quino of Compostela. Based on their travel authority signed by Cebu Governor Pam Baricuatro, these officials were in Europe and London from October 30 to November 8. But the complainant, attorney Julito Añora Jr., insisted that had these officials not left their areas of jurisdiction behind, the casualties could have been minimized. Thus, he is charging them of violation of Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act, the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials, and the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010.
Failure of the local chief executives, the mayors, for example, to prepare before, during, and after the Typhoon Tino that have resulted to plenty of casualties, most specifically in the 5th District.
For his part, Congressman Frasco said, quote, "I arrived in London on November 4 and upon learning of the severe flooding that struck parts of Cebu, I immediately made arrangements to return to the Philippines the very next day." He also said he was able to secure the earliest available flight on November 5 and arrived in Cebu on November 6, immediately assisting in relief and coordination efforts for typhoon victims. Compostela Mayor Quino also said he rushed to go back home.
During sa bagyo, bisag sa mayura, di gid matubang sa bagyo kay bisag sa pagmayura to yung makasagang sa bulog sa tubig ikan sa kabukiran.
Malacanang, for its part, has left it up to the DILG to decide on the matter.
Hindi niya po gusto na ang mga liderato ay chill lang. So dapat ang trabaho ay para sa taong bayan. Kasi ang taong bayan umaasa po sa gobyerno, lalo na sa mga ganitong klaseng sitwasyon at kondisyon.
We're pausing for another quick breather, but when we return, the Ombudsman says it again. There is already an ICC warrant against Senator Bato Dela Rosa. And as for the Justice Department, they are studying 2 options for the former PNP chief. That and more stories still ahead. This is the Big Story on One News. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the big story. Ombudsman Remulla reiterates that he has a copy of what appears to be an ICC arrest warrant against Senator Dela Rosa, but clarifies that it is not official. Remulla confirms this during a press conference on Tuesday, saying that the document is stored on his cell phone. He notes, however, that it must pass through proper channels before it can be implemented officially. The Justice Department is looking at two options for Dela Rosa: surrender or extradition.
Pero warrant meron. Nasa telepono ko. I have a copy. Pero hindi pa yan, hindi siya official copy, kaya basta alam ko meron. Pero hindi yan official copy. Dadaan niya sa proper channels para ma-implement yan.
Now, meanwhile, Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson is back as chairman of the powerful Blue Ribbon Committee. That's after no senator objected when Senator J.V. Ejercito moved to reinstate him. I recall that Lacson resigned last month after some colleagues questioned the direction of the investigation. Lacson said that former Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico will be invited to attend the next hearing through a video conferencing platform.
Kung hindi siya makapunta sa embassy physically para doon siya mag-testify, para maging valid yung kanyang testimony, even after testifying, pwedeng i-affirm through a consul na yung kanyang tinestify truthful, at saka yung wala siya idadagdag, walang babawasan doon sa kanyang tinestify.
One personality who was earlier invited to congressional hearings on flood control projects was former Public Works Secretary Manny Bonoan, whom the Bureau of Immigration says has left the country. Bonoan reportedly departed with his wife for the U.S. via Taiwan. Mrs. Bonoan is supposed to have a medical procedure abroad. Former Secretary Bonoan was listed under an immigration lookout bulletin order issued by the Justice Department. The immigration officers coordinated with the DOJ, which confirmed that no whole departure order nor an arrest warrant existed, allowing Bonoan to leave without restrictions.
In other news, the Office of Civil Defense has reported a total of 25 dead from Super Typhoon Uwan. 12 of the dead were reported in the Cordilleras, where there were consecutive landslides. Over in Cagayan, 38 out of 49 barangays around the Cagayan River are still submerged in water. Rice and cornfields were also inundated, not just with water but with thick mud, which authorities say came from Kalinga and the Mountain Province. In Camarines Sur, more than 120 barangays are also still underwater despite the improving weather. No casualties were reported there. According to Pagasa's latest bulletin, Uwan has weakened further into severe tropical storm category and is currently outside the Philippine area of responsibility. Nevertheless, signal number 1 is still up over Batanes, the northern and western portions of Cagayan, Apayao, Abra, the northern portions of Kalinga and La Union, the Ilocos provinces, and the northwestern portion of Pangasinan. Currently, Uwan is starting to recurve and may re-enter the PAR by tomorrow afternoon, but much weaker then or only as a remnant low.
Okay. Happy 11/11, guys.
Oh my gosh.
It's 11/11 today.
Check out na yung nasa cart. May
You
oras
still
ka pa.
have, 3 hours. All right, but tonight, that's it for the big story this Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching.
We are back here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. We'll see you then.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Good night.